Well, I think Oklahoma probably feels like they can win up front with four better than Kentucky could win up front with four, and I think that's the difference, Rob. When you look at it, if you think your front four can control and handle things up, in the line of scrimmage, then you can be all kinds of creative in the back end. I mean, go look at what Alabama did. Yeah, I mean, I know Deshaun Bishop got going a little bit in the second half, but in the first half, Tennessee didn't run the ball particularly effectively. This run game for Tennessee is, I mean, they're going to hit their 2,000 yard total and all those types of things, but this has not been as effective of a run game to this point in league play as we've seen out of Tennessee the last few years. They're going to have some balance in this game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be crucial. In Oklahoma, I mean, we always talk about balanced offenses, but Oklahoma's a balanced defense. I mean, that's why I think it's going to be. I mean, we're broken record, but crucial that Tennessee is balanced because Oklahoma has been the best defense in the league against defending the pass, and that's after Ole Miss got after them pretty good. The numbers are still way low, and they're giving up. They're one of the top. I think they're third in the league after this week. They were second in rush defense, giving up 2.5 yards of rush. And to Brent's point, I mean, I think they're doing a pretty good job of stopping it with their front seven without bringing a safety down, which Kentucky, I don't think they felt like they had any shot of doing.
What do you guys think Tennessee's going to do on the offensive line this week? We saw a lot of David Sanders at right tackle, Jesse Perry at right guard, Wendell Moy flipped over to left, and that was the offensive line that Tennessee was going to go with to begin the season. A little bit, you got the one we've seen majority of the time this season with Perry at right tackle and Sham in there at left guard. Brent, what do you think Tennessee's offensive line is going to look like this week against an Oklahoma team that will probably be the toughest challenge it's seen so far?
Yeah, I don't know that they'll be as patient with it as they were against Kentucky in terms of the run game deal. I mean, I think they'll start the way they started at Kentucky with David Sanders at right tackle and Jesse Perry at right guard. But maybe they don't. Maybe if they don't feel like they're getting something done, they'll quickly get back to Sham and move Wendell back to the right side, and then maybe the rotation is more Perry and Sanders at tackle, and you don't move as much everybody else. We'll see. They clearly did not rotate as much against Kentucky as they did against Alabama. But Tennessee's run game was pretty non-existent until the fourth quarter. They averaged less than 3 yards a carry. They didn't move people up there well enough. So to answer your question, Eric, I don't know. I don't think you're going to see anything like what we saw rotation-wise against Alabama. And if you don't feel like it's effective enough early, I can see them certainly reverting back to what they started the season with Sanders and Perry splitting time at the right tackle spot. Sanders is going to play. Perry's going to play. I don't know that both of them are just locked in on the right side. How that right side plays is going to be interesting in this game.
Let's flip it over to the Oklahoma offense, Tennessee defense. You've got John Mateer, who's been back. He missed a couple of weeks, but been back the last 3 games. In those 3 games, Oklahoma's averaged 311 yards of offense, 193 through the air, 118 on the ground. They've kind of ran it better the last 2 games specifically when they just had no pulse on the ground. Before that with a freshman and a sophomore. Austin, you have John Mateer that. He's a dynamic player, but part of the reason why he's been so dynamic is his ability to use his legs. Now, before the injury, he was running all over the place. Since the injury, I think he's got about 40 yards rushing in 3 games, no touchdowns. How is Tennessee going to need to defend John Mateer that to this point is not back to 100%, but obviously very, very, very dangerous?
Yeah, again, Mateer is not Taylor Green in terms of his long stride and his ability to, go 20 yards in a blink. But he's still very capable as a runner. Obviously, he had that stack going there for a while where he had, X amount of number of games with, a touchdown rushing and a touchdown passing. And, he's a good athlete. I do wonder, like, the thumb, is that causing him to be more hesitant running the football? Because then you just open yourself up to taking hits on said area. I mean, because let's face it, if you want to tackle him, we obviously want to get him down, but if you can get a good lick on the thumb, why would you not? And so I think that may have slowed him down a little bit. At some point, though, he'll kind of get going again. Maybe that's his week. Again, this is an Oklahoma offense, as Brent said on the 2-minute drill on Monday. It was good, okay, solid, but they've not been world beaters, even with Mateer and the new offensive coordinator. It's not like that Oklahoma just all of a sudden just setting records on the offensive side of the ball. So I think just playing good, sound, fundamental defense will be the key to success. And to this point, Tennessee's really not done that. So the question is, can they figure it out this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at this for Tennessee, I think the problem right now is if you're Tim Banks, Rob, I mean, like it's kind of like my favorite movie. One of my favorite movies is Apollo 13. But you kind of go, what do we have on the ship that works right now? And I think that's sort of where you are defensively. Like, what do you do that works? Because it feels like if teams want to get it out of their hands early and throw it in the flat and throw it underneath stuff to the tight end, that it's available there. If it's man coverage, you think Tennessee may bust it and you get an easy one, or Tennessee's committing a pass interference penalty. If it's zone coverage, it feels like there's a bunch of gaping holes in there. Like, I'm curious to see what Tim Banks' plan of attack is to try to manufacture some consistency on the defensive side of the ball, as much as I am Oklahoma trying to decide, okay, which one of these things do we want to try to expose, because we've seen them get exposed in all different ends the last few weeks.
Well, Tennessee's going to play a lot of defensive linemen. That's a given. We'll see about the status of Arion Carter, but even if Arion Carter's back, you would imagine that obviously Spillman's going to play a ton. T-Lander's going to play. Jaden Perlotti has earned opportunities to play, in my opinion, but how much run would he get in that situation? And then you had, the safety rotation last game. Andre Turntime played 46 snaps, and that's a lot different from the 80-plus that he gets. And you saw more Sidney Walton, Caleb Beasley. Where's Colton Hood as the week progresses as well? If Colton Hood is not out there, it's Ty Redmond, probably William Wright. Is this the week, potentially, depending on the health of Colton Hood and some others, that maybe you see Jalen McMurray play a little bit of corner? I doubt it, because Boo Carter missed a big chunk of that game after giving up the touchdown on the double move. So I'll be intrigued. I think that they were willing just to throw different bodies out there and try to do anything they could to stop Kentucky the other night. Will that carry over into a game like this against Oklahoma?
Well, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to say, I mean, more than scheme or personnel, the thing that just boggles my mind is the tackling. I mean, it's just, 8 games into the year, it's just bad. And the stat that jumped out at me, you guys might have seen this one too, but, Boley had 330 yards passing the other night, and Kentucky had 476 yards of total offense. 230 of their yards were yards after the catch. A big chunk of that was obviously, Kendrick Law on the screen pass for 71. But, this guy's just taking short stuff, and, it just happens all the time. I don't know if it's, part of that could be zone coverage and, being a step out of position here or there, and you're not in position to make the tackle. But, man, I need to start paying attention to that. But I guarantee you 230 yards of yak is way high. Off the charts high. And that's tackling in the secondary.
Well, and I think part of that is when you're out of position, that tackle's a lot harder to make.
100%, yeah.
And there was a play, and I'm not picking on. I don't even know who the Leo was, so I can't pick on him now that I think about it. They had a play in that game. I want to say it was in the third quarter, but it might have been a different quarter, where they dropped a Leo into coverage, and they weren't near where the ball went. Like the receiver ran an out and the Leo came inside for coverage or vice versa. I remember watching that play going, they don't know what, they can't figure out where they're supposed to be. They're so out of sorts right now that, I guarantee it was coached up. Okay, here's what you do. Here's your key. But they didn't execute it at all. And I think that's the thing that you have to figure out, Eric, is what can you execute? What can you do to be a better to be in position to be a better tackling team? What can you do to eliminate the busts that you're seeing that have been repeatedly there for 8 weeks? And I think that's the challenge for Tim Banks, not just this week, but when you look at the last month of the season, because I don't want to sound like a coach, there's no magic dust to wave and all of a sudden it gets remedied. Yeah. So how do you minimize some of the risk to where you can be, a more cohesive group on the defensive side of the ball? And what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody has that answer. Obviously, Tim Banks is searching for it, no doubt. a lot of people are, during the games or after the games just wondering, like, does this team even practice tackling? I mean, they start every single practice with turnover circuits, tackling circuits. So that you preach that the first half of individual is always drills, drills, drills. Sometimes you're in position and you're just missing tackles. Sometimes, as you point out, you're not in the best position and you're getting run through in arm tackles. 8 games in, this team's just kind of where they are right now. So, we'll see how much improvement that it could possibly get. Oklahoma defensively in 4 SEC games, they had a sack apiece against Ole Miss and Texas, 6 sacks against South Carolina 2 weeks ago, 9 sacks. We all remember that, their SEC opener. 9 sacks about a month ago against Auburn to begin SEC play. The defensive front seven is going to be coming along. I think that we talked about the offensive line. Obviously, the running backs are going to have to be in that one as well. Could we see more 12 personnel this week, Austin? Now, obviously, you love the way the wide receivers are playing. If the pass rush becomes an issue, could you see more 12 personnel?
Well, what you just said, it's the nail on the head for me. If it became an issue, then I think you would adjust to that. I don't think they want to go that route unless they just absolutely have to. Still a lot of confidence in the offensive line. They do a fairly good job of doing the 2 tight end stuff, which started about a year ago at this time when they played Oklahoma. Right before that with the NC State game, and kind of found their niche there with that 2024 group. But I don't think they want to do that, but I think they're very capable if they need to of doing that, because ultimately you've got to protect Joey Aguilar at all costs.
Speaking of which, Brent, I know you wrote about it. What's this tight end rotation look like? Kitselman played only 40-something snaps, which is good for him. Ethan Davis was back. He obviously scored a touchdown. It's a really good game for him to, feel like get some confidence at least. And then, of course, you have the freshman Jack Van Dorsel there.
Well, and I think Desan Brame is a guy who can help too. I mean, I think they feel good about what they have there. I think the question is, it's easy to play a lot more bodies there if you're playing in the 2 tight end sets, but I don't think anybody's voting for taking Braylon Staley off the field and not playing with a slot receiver, given the way that they're playing. So, we'll see. I thought Ethan Davis's impact was significant with the 2 catches he had right before the half. So that's a part of it, and I think he's got to continue to have some run and have an effect there. I think the question is, where is Desan Brame in the rotation? Because I think you're going to play those other 3. Van Dorselaer is going to play some for Kitselman. You're going to limit some of Kitselman's snaps. Ethan Davis is going to play some. They're going to play some 2 tight end stuff. But do they play 4 or do they play 3? We'll wait and see. One quick note about the Oklahoma pass rush, which is really good. But South Carolina is 130th in sacks allowed nationally at 28 given up this year. Auburn's 134th in sacks allowed this year, having given up 30. They have feasted on 2 of the worst offensive lines in the league. Now, credit Oklahoma, they're part of those 30 that they got. But those are 2 offensive lines that have really struggled to protect the quarterback this year. So I think Oklahoma's pass rush is really good, but maybe it's a little bit magnified when you look at the fact that they've had the opportunity to go against the 2 worst offensive lines in the league in terms of protecting the quarterback.
Yeah, maybe so. And obviously those games contributed a lot into being second in the SEC right now with 29 sacks. One other note I do want to point out, as the week goes along, we'll dive down deeper in the numbers. Tennessee, when you get into the red zone, Tennessee is scoring touchdowns in the red zone at 71%. So 71% of the time in the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns, 32 of 45 chances. You look at Oklahoma's defense, and they're holding offenses to 38% touchdown rate in the red zone. 16 opportunities opponents have gotten in the red zone against Oklahoma. They've scored 6 touchdowns. It's a really good stat. Mm-hmm. So creativity.
And Tennessee's stat in SEC play in red zone touchdowns is not nearly that productive. It got enhanced this past week because they went 5 for 5.
Yeah.
So that helped that number a lot. But going into that, there was a pretty big difference between red zone touchdowns for the season and red zone touchdowns in SEC play because Tennessee had more red zone struggles in SEC play. But obviously they got in the end zone with Kentucky. I love the throw to Ethan Davis at the end of the half. I mean, I thought that was a little bit of a wrinkle we had not seen. To your point, Eric, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. Tennessee does have to be creative down there, and they're going to have to manufacture some red zone red zone touchdowns if they get there through some scheme. Because I don't know that you're just going to line it up and run it down their throat for their touchdown, even though they did a year ago in Norman, Oklahoma, with their ground game and Dylan Sampson to end the first half.
Man, I'll tell you one thing Eric, you mentioned the defensive stat about the red zone. They've been so good. It's kind of an anomaly for how good Oklahoma has been defensively. I mean, really best in the league, total defense, scoring defense. They do not force turnovers.
No, they don't.
They forced one fumble on it, which is crazy.
Three picks, one fumble.
They have 4 turnovers on the year, which is as good as they are everywhere else. That's really weird.
Yeah, they've turned the football over 10 times offensively. They've only forced 4 turnovers, and yeah, for a defense that's been that sound and
especially the fumbles is wild. I mean, the way they hit the TFLs, the sacks. I mean, to only have 1 fumble recovery is that's crazy.
Yeah. Last thing, this is elementary, Rob, or anybody for that matter. How much weight does Nealon carry in this game? I think if this was a neutral site game, I don't know. I mean, this was at Oklahoma. Sooners would be favored. Neutral side game, I don't know. Tennessee's obviously opening the week at 3.5. How much weight does Nealon carry? Because, Tennessee under Josh Heupel since the 21 season, only loses to one team at Nealon, right?
I think it's huge. I mean, I think fans are starved for a night game.
Yeah, would be the first night game at home all season. That's a good point.
I think the challenge, Austin, is Tennessee had, 2 things. One, the fans have to come there with a work-like attitude. They got to stay engaged all 4 quarters, regardless of what happens if you give up a third down conversion or whatever. At the same time, too, Austin, Tennessee needs to do something early to get the fans revved up. I think there's a little bit of, okay, they got them in, you're sitting there watching, okay, Tennessee's got them in 3rd and long. All right, here comes the first down. We've seen this too many times this year. I mean, I think Tennessee's got to do some stuff early to continue to keep it revved up, because it'll be good. I don't get me wrong, but Oklahoma's viewpoint of it is the Baker Mayfield game when they came here, and it was arguably the best it's ever been here. Tennessee fans have to stay engaged. This team has to keep them engaged early.
They do. I agree. I think it would be, they've done a pretty good job of going and getting points when they get the ball first. It'd be nice if Tennessee could get a stop, kind of like they did at Mississippi State. Now, they muffed the punt at Mississippi State, and then they go right back out there, and all of a sudden, boom, boom, touchdown. But, you had the perfect start defensively at State. You need a similar start defensively here, because you're right. The fans expect Joey Aguilar and the offense to score points. Right now, the bar is really low for the defense. So, just honestly, just hold them to a field goal might be enough to get a crowd reaction out of them. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I just think ultimately, I'm with you, Hubbard. I think they've got to get off to a quick start.
Start is key. Tennessee going down the field, scoring a touchdown or making a defensive stop. That would be big in a game like this. When, again, the team can't think about this, something that we can talk about, fans can certainly talk about. You're playing for your playoff life every single week, and this is one of those big ones here on the schedule. You got to take advantage of being at home, and I think a good start in this regard could go a long way.